Hello, welcome back. I'm Noreen Burke, owner of Call Clutter Fairy Home Organizing, and this is my channel, The Crafty Organizer. I'm always eager and excited to share new ways for you to organize, do budget upgrades to your home, do DIYs, crafting, and upcycles. Today is one that I am actually probably more proud of than anything I've ever done. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you know that I took my living room and broke it in half so that one part of it is our living space and the other half is my bedroom. We have a very small home and I have two teen kids who are doing better in their own space. So as a single mom, I don't care. I'd only use my area to sleep in, so I gave my kids their own space, and it has been a wonderfully beneficial thing for my family. But it did leave our living space a little bit awkward, and it did sometimes make me feel, when they had friends over, like, oh, where am I supposed to go? So I have been wanting to make a room divider that would work for us, that was very economical. And I've had a lot of you commenting that you have multi-use rooms and you would love a room divider. This piece from IKEA was my inspiration. However, they don't make it anymore. I was really hoping to find one used, but I couldn't. So I started looking at alternatives. I could make one, but the sheet of corrugated plastic was mind-blowingly expensive. So my next option was to look at doors. Well, doors were less expensive, but still way out of my price range. So when I came across this glass partition door, I thought, oh, what about just a screen? Screens are expensive too. And again, my budget, I know things are subjective, but for my budget, this was outside of something that I could just order and have shipped to me. So as I was looking at the panel screens, I thought, well, what if I get a bunch of Dollar Tree frames and I make a DIY out of those? Great idea, except once again, by the time I got enough of these frames to make something that would fit my space, I needed to do between 78 and 80 inches high by between 24 and 30 inches wide 2 times. So you could see pretty quickly buying that many frames was going to become expensive. Finding a way to adhere them so that they would be secure was also going to be problematic. So I scrapped that idea and went right back to my IKEA idea and just tried to rethink what I could use as an insert so that light could still come in, but give me privacy, not be too heavy. So here's how I did it. You know, I love those furring strips. So I started off by mapping out how I could use the furring strips. So I got 5 of the 1 inch by 1/2 inch. I got 1 packet of 4 angle brackets, and I got 1 paper ready shade. It was 48 inches by 72 inches, but they stretch out. So the first thing I did was lay out my pieces, and I had them cut them down for me at Lowe's to 78.5 inches. So there are 4 of those that will go lengthwise, and this is going to make the 2 side panels for my area. I also cut down 4 that were 24 inches, and when I cut them, they had some jagged edges. So here's an alternative if you don't have sandpaper. Scrape it against your sidewalk or blacktop. You guys, it is amazingly effective to sand and make things smooth. And I just did that to every one of my pieces and they were perfect. So my biggest tip if you're working with wood, always, always, always take the time to drill pilot holes. I can't stress this enough. There's nothing worse than getting almost to the end of a project and you've been lucky and nothing has split, and then you go to put that last nail or screw in and the wood splits and now your whole structure is compromised. So definitely drill pilot holes. Now, I didn't want the screws hanging out at the end. I wanted it to look as professional as possible. So get a drill bit that is slightly larger than your screw hole and drill again. I went down about 1/2 inch with this larger drill, and this allows my screws to go inside and countersink. It's a much more sturdy hold for these, and it also makes it look so much more professional. So now I get to put them together. So I went ahead and just used some 1.5-inch screws for wood, and I just started making a frame, a simple frame. Now, I was doing this by myself, so here's a silly tip if you're struggling. Just stand on the piece of wood so that doesn't move away, and you have something to hold as you're pushing that screw in. That worked really well. So for the first one, I just, kind of made the frame, and I used the first frame to make sure that my sides were squared up and everything was exactly in place. So I have 2 exact replicas. Then I got ready to paint. Now, this Sherwin-Williams paint that I used on so many of my upcycles lately, you guys have been asking about, it was an oops, so I don't know what the paint color is, but I did give you the item number. This other paint was what I used on my living room furniture, and the brand I don't even want to say because it was literally so bad. So don't do that. I did end up using that paint again, even though I didn't like it, because I wanted it to match the unit that I have in the living room so that it was a seamless look. So it took 4 coats. So here I am just making sure that I do the coats properly. I ended up not using this board, but I thought I was going to need it to take up some of the slack space. Now I just have a painted board. There I go. Hair in a bun. It's always funny. It doesn't matter what I do with my hair. By the end of it, it's in a bun. Here's a quick little tip for you. If you are doing multiple coats, put your brush or roller in a Ziploc baggie. Seal it up, and your brush will be just as fresh as when you took a break. So real quick, I just wanted to make sure this shade fit in, and I'm going to show you how I cut that down in a minute. But I went through, again, I took about 4 coats to make sure everything was covered well. There were some spots that soaked up the paint more than others, but I just covered every inch of it. To cut the shade, I just took 2 of my binder clips and put it as close to the cut point as possible. Now, I brought out my miter saw and I used the hacksaw that I had. I wouldn't recommend doing that. What actually worked easier when I had to trim it down again, the binder clips were wonderful because it kept everything tight and I could grip the binder clip to protect my fingers. But a simple, inexpensive serrated steak knife cut through it like butter. I don't know why the hacksaw was so difficult because theoretically that should have worked great, but just get out one of your steak knives and it worked like a charm. This is a secret thing I'm going to be doing, and no, I didn't know how to use a baton. So now it's time to put it together. So I bring it inside. Right now I'm marking the things, and I realized, well, that was a silly place for a camera. So I moved the camera. Once I had my marks in place for where the brackets were going to go, again, always use that pilot hole because it'll protect your project. Then I was able to put the screws in without any fear of damaging the project. The thing I like about doing something like this with an existing piece of furniture is if I change my mind, it's the tiniest bit of wood putty and I can paint over it and no one will be the wiser. So here I just have 2 simple brackets, and these brackets will hold 4 pounds. This little frame I built is less than 2, so there's plenty of support on there. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side. So I'm marking. On this side, I'm using a hinge. So I'm just marking the holes, putting in the pilot holes, and now I can go ahead and attach the hinge. And as you can see, I measured this so it fit perfectly within the top overhang of this bookshelf, and it rests on the bottom overhang, so it's a perfect fit. And my supervisor is being very helpful today. So the hinge will allow me to walk in and out almost like a door. You can see I'm a little bit excited about this. So the way the shade works, definitely make sure to cut it under the space that you have. That was a mistake I made. I made mine fit tightly, and that didn't work so well. So it comes with an adhesive strip. So just press the adhesion against the top, and theoretically it just hangs down. So I am still on the fence as to whether I like these shades or not. I used a staple gun to put in 3 staples on the top and another 3 at the bottom. But here's the finished project. If you've watched my videos before, you know I took this hall tree and flanked it with 2 bookcases, and I think it really gives a nice division for this room. So by hinging one side, I can go in and out, light still filters through, and when I want to be alone, I can just simply use that hinge side to close it off. Now, if you'll notice on the other side, this is where I used that dowel. I already had this large dowel, and I had this closet holder for the bar because of what I do as a business, but this was the perfect place to give myself a place to hang the clothes that I have, and I'm really excited about this. So I attached the one support side to the wall, and the other I went ahead and attached to the thickest wood portion of my bookshelf, and no one would know I had clothes hung when you're looking at it from the living room. So here's what I would change, and here's what I spent. They have this non-adhesive contact paper, and I think I'm going to go ahead and swap that out. They sell it in 24-inch widths, and this is exactly 24 inches. So I'll have to find a way to put it on the inside, and I might be able to get some teeny tiny strips of wood. They sell pieces of wood that are 1/4-inch squares, and if I do that on both sides, I could sandwich the liner in between that and make it look like it's a piece of glass. I'm not sure though if it's too flexible and it would become an issue. So I'm going to get a small piece and play with it, but that might be something that I swap out. And then here's what I spent. I bought 5 pieces of wood. I bought the angle brackets. I already had the hinges. I know that's cheating, but the hinges were about $4. So if you do make this project, you'll have to allot for that. If you don't mind the shade looking the way it is, that was $6. And by buying one of the longer widths, I was able to cut it in half and get 2 shades out of it. And then we pay tax here. So this was a whopping $20.74 to make this project. And again, I am really happy with the way this looked. What I like most about this is you can duplicate this and customize it to just about anything. So you could make a couple of different panels. You could make a room divider and just use the hinges so that you can stand it up. I also like that you can make a shorter version and use it on a table so that if you've got a large room where you just have a craft table set up, you can make a short one that just fits the length of your table and create just a barrier so that your craft items or your sewing items or your workspace is concealed. And on the other side is the normal room. So you guys can get creative as you want with this, and it's such an inexpensive solution. But let me know in the comments below what you think. Let me know an area where you could use this. I would love to give you some suggestions if you get stuck on the dimensions or what you should buy. But by far, this has been my favorite DIY that I have done so far. Thank you so much for all the votes you gave last week. I get the biggest kick out of you guys saying, I want number 1, I want number 3, but actually I'd like all 3. So right now the home sign is absolutely in the lead, followed very closely by that calendar. Even though the laundry is in 3rd place, it's gotten so many votes as well. So I might just end up making all 3, but definitely the home sign is in the lead. So if I do that one, I will make sure to tell you the dimensions that I'm making mine, but know that you can always adjust things down to fit your personal needs. Thank you so much for all of your support. My dad is doing so much better, and I appreciate all of the well wishes, prayers, and check-ins. So thanks so much, and I will see you guys in 2 days. Bye.